Hey everybody, how are we doing tonight? Currently sitting outside of Liquid downtown Boise right now and feel for what's going on. Enjoying a little bit of this cool October weather. It's a little chill in the air tonight, especially to be sitting down on the balcony. But it's a good clean evening. Air smells good. You guys got anything you're interested in talking about? Hmm. See what we can do to get a little light on the subject here. There's a single place that this is going to work out real good, is there? Let's go right there. Give me almost a spooky look sitting out here in an October evening. As again, anything good you want to talk about tonight? So let's go ahead and cover one issue. What is today? Today's the 14th. 2 days ago, Brett Kavanaugh sat in on his first SCOTUS case, Supreme Court of the United States. You know what good old Brett did? He decided that the indigenous people of North Dakota aren't going to be able to vote this year. I'm not sure exactly how that's supposed to work, but it's part of what the GOP legacy is this year. Yeah, we're moving away from individual rights. We're depriving people of rights. Yeah, last people to get the right to vote in America. Now the first people lose their rights. So when it really comes to freedom here in the United States, GOP just hosed us all. Remember all of those things about, when they came for the Jews, I didn't raise a voice because I wasn't a Jew. Well, here we are back again. They're coming for the Indians. You don't raise a voice now, you got no complaints when they come for you. What else we got going on? Oh, yeah. Child Protective Services. Seems to be a big issue right now. Now, there are an awful lot of people who are strong supporters of the way Child Protective Services here work in Idaho. Some of them think they're fairly good about it. Got relatives that actually work for child advocacy groups. But honestly, I think when it comes down to it, they really don't have as good a rep as many people like to think. Reason why is because more often than not, child will be removed from the house because somebody needs a little sativa to calm down in the evenings. Yeah, they'd rather leave him with a drunk father than, stoned one. I'm not sure exactly how that works out for the benefit of the kids, especially considering the reputation that some of the foster care system has in the state. But I definitely think it's something that needs to be gone over. Again, I think that's something legalization in the state. Everybody's inside. How you doing, Ginger?
Hi, sorry I didn't notice interrupting your thing.
Yeah, we're up. We're good. It's a low audience tonight. We only got 2 people. I'm pretty sure one of them's even Robert. Yeah.
That's Robert? Oh my gosh. Well, it'll get busier because people share it like after.
Right.
A whole lot.
Well, and something along that lines, 86% of kids that are in sex trafficking rings originate from CPS care.
Right.
Oh, Lord.
Did you catch Robert's little stat there? 86% of the children who end up in sex trafficking, 86 were in foster care at some point. When you step back and you take a look at that, is foster care really the right choice?
I know 82% factual allegations.
Yep. So anyway, October 19th, Robert's got himself a rally that he's doing on the steps of the Capitol.
No, actually, outside of Westgate, opposite. Yes.
Oh, no, Westgate, outside of the CPS offices. No place like taking it to their home to raise awareness, right? But yeah, so there's actually a couple things going on with regards to that. You know, Robert's not the only one. His focus is on Child Protective Services and their heavy-handedness and the way that they handle issues with regards to parental rights in Idaho. But he's not the only one that's currently working issues with regards to human trafficking here in the state. There's actually a fairly large coalition, and it's not just children that are being stolen from Idaho families for neglect, alleged neglect, but you know, we're currently dealing with a number of issues. Michigan just had 123 children that were recovered in a sex trafficking ring. You know, Arizona and New Mexico, both locations down there. Somehow they managed to get a human trafficking ring. Investigation that wasn't compromised, and they actually managed to roll up several prominent figures, including at least one sheriff's officer and several retired officers that were part of the human trafficking down in Arizona and New Mexico. So we're actually seeing an awful lot of events that are unfolding right now with regards to human trafficking, and it's difficult because while we see some successes, we're also seeing places where the issues are getting worse. ICE, you know, is currently in the process of moving foster children, or taking undocumented children from their parents as they cross the border, turning around and trying to foster them out into the system. ICE currently ran into a serious issue where they actually lost quite a few of those kids into the system, and they haven't been able to recover them yet. You know, so human trafficking, we need to get around immigration reform. We don't get that fixed, we don't fix the human trafficking issue. You know, we need to be able to make sure that people have a clear understanding of how to get into the country in a way that actually facilitates an awful lot of our agricultural and migrant work. You know, current issues with the way we're handling migrant immigration right now actually prevents a significant amount of our agricultural products being able to reach market. Hi, David. You know, so we have a significant number of things in which immigration reform is going to be a real big help in the future as far as being able to get things done, both on an agricultural, service industry work. You know, our immigrant workers or refugee workers actually come in and they take a significant number of jobs that, you know, our young Americans won't. In a sense, that's good because that's part of their process for naturalization, actually becoming a citizen of the U.S. And I don't think that's something we should be getting in the way of.
Our street team guys are here, and
Nice.
they're a rowdy bunch. So I'm telling them they're not allowed to be on camera.
Ah,
Oh, there's nothing wrong with a rowdy bunch.
nothing wrong with a rowdy bunch,
If you
right,
really
guys?
want to deal with it, you can. But yeah, they're here. They're paying attention quietly over there from a safe distance,
The rowdy bunch is what started this country.
right?
Yes, definitely. It was the rowdy ones made us all strong. Got us to where we're at. Oh,
And speaking of tea parties, do you guys need beverages?
I'm good, I'm good.
Any sort.
oh, what would be soda,
Soda?
7-Up, Sprite, whatever they got.
You got it.
Nice. So, I don't know. Number one, I actually covered quite a few issues in fairly short order. Got a lot of big issues coming up. You know, the debates coming up for several of the key offices in the state. You have, see, we just had the gubernatorial debate. That wasn't too long ago. We have Swisher versus, who is it, Simpson? Yeah. Anyway, congressional district, you got Fulcher versus Christina, which is a shame. As a libertarian candidate, I honest to God wish Scott Howard had been able to make it. Yet, the establishment went ahead and screwed third parties again. Yeah, we had a good opportunity to actually get a three-party debate going, get the views not only of both of the establishment parties, but our Libertarian Party as well. So again, step out, say hi to Scott Howard, give a like on his page. I'll probably get around to posting it on this at some point. But yeah, Scott Howard, our Libertarian candidate for the 1st Congressional District. Good guy. I'd like to see him do better than the 10% that the polls have him at right now. I'd like to see him win, honestly. But he's fighting a strong uphill battle. He's putting in the work, but it's still an uphill battle. Who else we got? Lieutenant Governor. We got Collin versus Geecham. I don't know how many of you feel about that. Geecham's already come out and said she doesn't care what you think. Some of you may agree with what she thinks. I mean, when it comes to being a public official, trust of the people that are working for you, I don't necessarily know how you can come out and say, I don't care what you think, I'm going to do what I think is right, without even giving you so much of a howdy-do before they turn around and cut feet out from under you. But, that said, I got a soft spot for Kristen Collin. She's a veteran, like myself. Big issues with regards to veterans care. Collin's very much pro-legalization. Ooh, school superintendent debate. Nice. I don't know. I haven't actually seen that one. I was a little disappointed with Sherry Ibarra as far as how she took over from the Luna legacy. I don't think she actually did enough to correct the damage Luna did in her 4 years in office. Christine, was it Christina Williams? School superintendent for the other party. I know she came out real strong. Understood.
Can we like there's a Klingon.
We got a
at your meet
visit
and
from the
greet.
Klingons. Yeah. Here, let's get a good view of him. Yeah. Ah! Cindy, that's right. Cindy, she's the Democratic candidate for the school superintendent. But yeah, she came out real strong in support of schools, very knowledgeable. I'm not sure exactly how she feels with regards to maintaining federal control over our school systems. We all know that the federal guidelines that came down with regards to Last Child or No Child Left Behind, as well as several other forms of legislation that came out that restricted the way the teachers can do their job, as well as the school attendants. I understand the need for being able to make sure that when a child completes a class, that they're able to transfer from one school to the next. But I mean, seriously, most of our teachers and school supers, our principals, because of the legislation that's come down from the feds, that's come down from the state, these days more often than not, all they're doing is sitting down and dotting I's and crossing T's to make sure that they haven't violated any of the regulations. I think we really need to get back to a situation where the individual school boards have more control over what's happening with their students, and they're actually able to create an environment where their students learn, particularly for the kind of communities that some of these students are living in. I had an opportunity to go up to Haley here last week, discuss politics and civics with one of the classes up there, a bunch of 10th and 11th graders. They brought in some expertise from the different parties. So I was up there representing the Libertarian Party and talked a little bit about what was going on with Libertarian Party platform and how it compared to some of the other platforms around the nation right now. And the school up there in Haley, nice, small, the classes are small. I was sitting in a classroom with 2 teachers, and between those 2, they probably had about 10 students each sitting in the class discussing politics, discussing, civic responsibilities, civic duties. The thing is when you're sitting up there in Haley and you're looking at this classroom, and you understand that what's going on in Haley is so much different than what we see here in Boise, with regards to the Boise School District or the Meridian School District, West Ada and what it has to do. We can't have cookie cutter solutions for these communities. We need to be able to give them the flexibility to run their schools, fund their schools, choose what it is their schools need, that their infrastructure is actually capable of working with, to be able to maximize their students' ability to learn, adapt, and be able to do better things, once they get beyond school. We need to also look at options. Unfortunately, I missed the debate, or at least portions of it, but we really need to start looking at giving students the opportunity, more work study opportunities. One of the things I sort of like the idea of is the possibility of incorporating union apprenticeship programs, particularly for 16 and up. Turn 16, be able to go into a union apprenticeship program, one that manages to teach you trade skills, especially since right now so many of our public schools don't actually have the facilities to teach trades like they used to. I remember when I was in grade school, we had the shop class, we had the metal class. We could learn how to use the welders, learn how to use the arc welders. I'm not sure how much of that has actually managed to survive. But by working with the unions, being able to work with several trade organizations, we might be able to bring those skills back and be able to teach them to our kids before they turn 18 and actually join the workforce as professionals. Also give them a chance to learn a certain amount of work ethic as well. Watch the way the unions get things done, watch the way trade schools, contractors, all from an apprenticeship position. And that's one of the big issues that we got right now with regards to the workforce here in Idaho. We don't have enough tradesmen. We don't have enough craftsmen. We spent the last 40 years telling kids, hey, the only way you're going to get ahead is go to college. Right now, we got a bunch of college graduates that can't get a job. Welcome to the sounds of downtown Boise. And we have a shortage of trade skills. These are jobs that kids could go out right now and start making $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 a year. Working as electricians, HVAC technicians, carpenters. Right now we got a housing shortage in Boise. We don't have carpenters to frame houses. We can't build houses as fast as we're growing. So we're ending up, a lot of Idaho's young adults right now are getting priced out of homes. We have immigrants coming in from the West Coast, I-5 corridor. They're coming in, they're buying up houses, they're paying cash, for houses that, 5 years ago would have been $250,000. They're up to $350,000, $400,000 in some cases now. And it's all because of the I-5 corridor coming in and saying, we're tired of the way the Democrats have done the West Coast. We're looking for a little bit of the way the GOP does things in Idaho. So they don't know how the GOP does things in Idaho.
Well, and they come in at the top of that particular food chain, too.
True.
And so they're like,
True.
No, socialism is great because now we're at the top of it instead of the bottom where we were in California.
Right? So, but,
What?
if we were to take time and do those trade schools, get the kids in at 16, actually help them to understand what it means to be a tradesman here in Idaho, we'd actually have a workforce. They'd be able to build their own houses as well as build those for the people who are coming in and settling. Major construction projects, we'd have the tradesmen to do them. And if we get ahead of the curve, a lot of those tradesmen that we train and here in Idaho will eventually be able to export those skills, take them out of state, actually start building up Washington and Oregon and California after the Democrats finish pushing everybody out. Anyway.
I mean, you're not wrong.
There's definitely some things we can do to get ahead of the curve rather than being reactive like we've been for the past 40 years. A little bit better planning.
Especially voting third party.
Well, and there's never been a better time to vote for third party, really. I mean, right now you're not voting against anybody for president. Now's a really good time to insert some third parties in there. So in the future, next time we're voting for a president, maybe we have a viable third party. Instead of voting against somebody, we could be voting for somebody. And a lot of the bigger countries that are doing well in the world actually have a multi-party system. They're not stuck on any one thing, as much as this party or that party likes to point and say, hey, this country is this. They're probably not totally that.
Well, and our founding fathers warned us about a two-party system.
They did. We weren't supposed to just divide into parties. And so now is a really good time to go ahead and vote third party. Get some people in there so you have options. Instead of the last election we had where it got so nasty and so awful and nobody wanted to vote for those people.
I agree,
Well,
David. We definitely can do it together. But we need to start looking at third-party options. And right now, you only got one party in Idaho right now, effectively. You got the Republicans. And true, the Democrats right now are putting up some opposition. They got their whole blue wave going. But the problem with that is we're still stuck with the two-party system, even if they win. And as frustrating as it is, stepping back and watching the politics and what's going on, the Idaho Democrats aren't running on the DNC platform. For that matter, most of the Idaho Democrats aren't even running on the Idaho Democratic Committee's platform. A lot of them are actually running on progressive Idaho values, completely contrary to what they've been told to run by both the DNC and the IDC. But the thing is, they're still tarnished by the branding. DNC has completely jacked up the branding for the Democratic Party so bad that, even Democratic candidates that have come out with platforms that are solid, very for the people, that you can sit down and actually have an honest conversation with, they're tarnished by the brand. But that's the problem we run into with the two-party system. Even if we do flip the state and it turns blue, in 2 years, a lot of those blues will be expected to stump for whatever candidate the DNC tries to ram down the nation's throat. And a lot of them aren't going to have the option of saying no. So I definitely think we need to look at third parties. We definitely need to look at a stronger libertarian turnout. Again, look at Scott Howard, 1st Congressional District. Sean Luoma, he's up north as well. You get a chance, take a look at his platform. Pretty smart guy. And the other thing is even if you don't like the Libertarian Party, there's a big push right now for the Green Party to make inroads here in Idaho. A couple of people there have been working that real hard. They're even looking for a ballot access push in 2019. They weren't able to make it this year, so we don't have any Green candidates, which I'm pretty sure a lot of our Democratic progressive candidates would have preferred to run under. Would have saved them an awful lot of headache with the IDC infighting politics. It is what it is. They're making do with what they can. But yeah. So what else we got going on?
Well, did you tell everybody where you are?
Yes. I'm here at Liquids tonight, downtown Boise.
It's Boise's longest running goth industrial night. So he's sitting here Chick. Hi.
Hi. Got her here. Yeah.
Yeah. And part of why I've been helping with your campaign is because you care. Oh, motorcycle, yeah.
We got motorcycles. Yeah.
You get a lot of that around here. A little bit around
Even on a Sunday night.
here. Even on a Sunday night, this is where to go. Like, where else are you gonna go? It's boring out there. So, one important thing, and part of why I was helping with your campaign, is because you're one of the only candidates that are making a big deal about people's civil liberties, the Bill of Rights, actually restoring those things. And that's kind of a big deal. Nights like this would not exist if we don't have our First Amendment, right? We talked about that a little bit.
Yes.
If we're in Russia, it was a band called, am I allowed to say this on Facebook?
Yes.
Pussy Riot. And they are still having problems. They're still having problems because they don't have the rights that we have in this country. And those things are being chipped away at a little bit at a time until next thing you know, we're gone. And then maybe Haypenny across the street, maybe they'll be gone. Maybe the state will instate a curfew of 9 p.m. I know that's been talked about in recent campaigns with recent people on a more national level. Is that really a thing that we want to do? If we're always voting to get rid of the bad guy and against the boogeyman and allowing our civil rights to be traded away, right, for this thing and this perceived safety and that thing, and because we disagree with that guy, pretty soon they're going to come for you too, right?
Yeah. Well, we
Yeah.
already covered that.
Oh, good. See, I wasn't here for that. I was
SCOTUS.
running. Yes.
I can't believe that.
October 12th, Brett Kavanaugh's first case he heard as SCOTUS. He voted to deprive the North Dakota and Indians of their voting rights.
That should make everybody angry.
Right?
That's somebody's voting rights. And we should have some empathy just because it's not happening to you right now. Shouldn't we have some empathy about that? That's your voting
Well,
rights now.
I mean, first they came for the indigenous.
Right?
Who's next?
Well, and
Yep.
kind of the duality of it too is they're trying to push for illegals to be able to vote, but then natives can't vote. How does that work? That's
Well, you're looking at two different dichotomies right there. Reason why is because the illegals
I'm gonna
voting.
turn it back to you.
Yep. Okay.
That
She's
was
had
not a
enough of the
good angle
limelight.
of me,
I
sorry.
was burning her out. But you know, we're back looking at the dichotomy of what's going on in California. They're currently pushing real hard to have undocumenteds give them the ability to vote on what's going on in California. Meanwhile, North Dakota is in the process of trying to deprive indigenous peoples of their ability to vote. So we got two completely divergent philosophies going on. And they're wreaking havoc with what's going on in the United States right now, as far as our understanding of what our civil rights are, of what our civil obligations are. You know, as an illegal immigrant, I'm sorry, they're not illegal, they're undocumented. Reason why is because we don't believe in borders. We need to fix the immigration policy. But as an undocumented worker here in the United States, you know, you'd think that the whole taxation without representation would be a key thing. You know, because currently they're here, they're undocumented, they're working, they're paying taxes. You're gonna have to bring me Georgia, where they shut down 2,000 polling booths. Completely ridiculous. But again, that's where you're looking at two different things that are going on. In one state, North Dakota, they're shutting down indigenous people. In Georgia, they're currently in the process of closing down polling booths in poverty-stricken areas, which is a general rule down in Georgia, also happens to coincide with the Black Belt. So here we have these impoverished areas, North Dakota indigenous reservations, South Dakota sharecropper zones where you have an awful lot of real impoverished communities down there have just lost their ability to actually get to and from polling booths because they now have to travel outside of their normal range. Meanwhile, in Southern California, they're in the process of trying to give undocumented workers the right to vote. Now, like I said, I was getting back to the issue of undocumented. They're here, they're working. A lot of them are paying taxes, maybe not under their legal name, an assumed name, a stolen name. However, they're got their identification to be able to work in the United States. But they are working. They're paying taxes. They're contributing to the community, and part of the problem is right now is they're not allowed to vote. They're working, they're paying taxes, but they have no voice in how those taxes get spent. Not that any of the rest of us do either. I mean, currently we're looking at a $700 billion Department of Defense bill.
Right.
Yeah. Also, we can help the Saudi Arabians bomb the hell out of some Yemenis who haven't done anything to anybody.
Which only benefits the top 1%.
Yeah, they don't
More
benefit
contact.
you and me.
No.
That 700 billion, we're not seeing a dime of it.
Well, and on immigration, one of the things that happens is our system is so messed up. I know I'm supposed to talk louder. Our system is so messed up right now that a lot of people are coming to this country on legit visas, but they get lost in the paperwork of renewing the visa or going for their citizenship, and then they're stuck here. They can't leave. They can't try to cross back into the border, or else they go right into the immigration system where they get locked up.
Yep.
And so they're stuck here. They're stuck being illegals. A lot of them do not want to be illegals. Maybe not everybody, but there are quite a few people. I had a really good friend where that happened, and we were trying, we as citizens were trying to help him renew his student visa, and it was tied up for years. And then the lawyer that was supposed to be doing the paperwork to do it actually, once his visa ended, started trying to extort him for money because he knew where he was, because he's illegal. It's a racket nobody talks about, but it's there. And without that, that also eliminates a lot of crime. That's also a lot of people that would become tax-paying U.S. citizens, or are, or were.
Or actually tax-paying U.S. citizens that are properly documented,
right,
as the people they actually are, rather than as some assumed identity.
Well,
There's a lot of corruption out there that just needs cleaned up in a lot of areas.
well, and I'll tell you something. An attorney recently told me, he's a federal attorney, and he said that on jury selection, the prosecution will always try to get rid of somebody who just recently got their citizenship. Because see, they just learned about the Constitution.
And
just
they know
learned
their
about
rights.
Proven until innocent until proven guilty. So prosecution is consistently trying to get rid of any new citizen on a jury panel because they're afraid they're going to rule against them. Because see, they just got done studying all this stuff. So unlike our school system today, they actually had to study our founding documents, and they understand the whole concept of innocent until proven guilty.
That's true. And our right to due process is even going away here in Boise.
Right.
If you go to challenge a traffic ticket, which did not happen to me, but I know a few people this has happened to recently. If you go to challenge a traffic ticket, even if you can prove your case, the judge will side with the cop every time, and they don't care. We have a constitution under suspension right now, and they don't have to follow it. So they're not.
And in a lot of cases, they don't.
And in a lot of cases, they don't. And here in Boise, in the city of Boise, they're not. They have a new system up in place. And again, this is something that a lot of people aren't talking about. But when it happens to you, you're going to be really mad. Or if you go to jail. And there was a gentleman that made a comment on your page recently, and nobody could seem to respond to him. Facebook just wasn't allowing it. Where he was talking about he was denied his right to due process. We saw it. We cared. We just couldn't. Facebook wasn't letting us respond. It is a big issue, and it is a big deal. And the important thing about your voting on a local level is to be sure that you have people in place on your legislature, as your governor, as your police chief, that actually will uphold the Constitution no matter what they say on a federal level, that they're going to challenge that and be like, no, this is our rights. It matters, and it matters for every citizen across the board, period.
See,
Sorry.
local elections, they're important.
Yeah.
Midterms in Idaho, especially important. Because the midterms in Idaho, you're voting for Idaho's executive branch, governor, lieutenant governor, superintendent of schools, our treasurer, our secretary of state. Who's the other one? We got 7 different seats. Currently, the state's lawyer, whatever that office actually is.
Oh, the Attorney General.
The Attorney
Yeah,
General.
state's attorney general. Now, here's something that you might want to know before we go ahead and sign off tonight. Right now, of the 7 seats that are up for election, the 7 executive seats, 5 of those seats have women running for them. Yes, 5. So, 3 of those are guaranteed to go to women. We're almost at 50%. 50% of those seats could possibly go to, 3 of the 7 are definitely going to women. Whether you go with Kristen Collum or Janice Geacham, woman's getting one of those. Superintendent of schools, Sherry Ybarra, Cindy Wilson. It's going to one of them. The state treasurer actually is a woman. She's a Republican. She's running unchallenged. She's going to get the seat. There's 3 seats in the executive branch in Idaho that are going to go to women this year. There are 2 others where there are women actually challenging the seat. You have Jill Humble, who's currently challenging Lawrence Denny. And there's one other who's...
I forgot.
Right?
Put me on a spot like this. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
I actually do know things, just you're putting a camera at me.
No, you
It's
gotta-
Paulette Jordan. Okay, Paulette
Oh,
Jordan is
yeah.
running against Brad Little.
Oh yeah, her.
So it is very possible that following the November 6th election, we will actually have a council of mothers sitting in the state house making decisions for Idaho.
That's great.
You
But I want them to be women that do my gender proud.
know, right?
And care about my constitutional rights. It's a
But
big
5
deal.
of those 7 seats could be filled by women. And most of those women are mothers. They're raising children here in Idaho. And yeah, rights are important. Raising quality people is important. People who understand and respect other people, respect other people's rights. And I'll admit, I've had a chance to meet with some of those women's children, and they're smart kids, respectful, and they do the parents proud. So when it comes time, take a lot of, don't look at just their platform, but what they've done in their lives. The people around them, the people that surround them, because those are the people that are going to be helping them make decisions in the future. Kristen Collum, solid. She surrounded herself with vets. She understands the tech industry. She knows what Idaho needs to go through to create a new future. And as a veteran, she's one of the few people who have actually sworn to defend the Constitution against enemies, foreign and domestic. I know I'm not 100% with her on every one of her platforms. I don't think anybody is ever 100% with a lot of people, but there's definitely some good people out there running.
One thing on that note, I've been asked a lot here recently. Out of the 3 parties, Democrat, Republican, and Libertarian, which would you say on the? Of course, we're all going to deviate some from the parties,
Right?
platform, but as the platform stands, the way they are, which party do you believe is closer to the Constitution?
Oh, without a doubt, the Libertarian Party is the closest to what the Constitution was originally designed to support. The Bill of Rights, all 10 of them. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, all extremely important amendments. You got the First Amendment, or freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of association. Critical. We can't go anywhere with that. Yet we're currently looking at curfews and certain other regulations that prevent us from being able to gather together and work for a united purpose. Second Amendment, our ability to carry arms, to be armed. It's actually a lot more restricted than it was ever intended to be. And believe it or not, a lot of the restrictions came from Republicans. Ronnie Reagan was one of the first ones. He didn't like the way that certain communities down in Southern California were arming themselves to be able to protect themselves because the police force weren't adequate for those communities. Either that or the police force was outright racist and was doing more damage to the communities than they were actually helping. But good old Ronnie, he was one of those that actually wrote one of the first major gun bans. And it's just continued to go on from there. We've already had President Trump come out and say he's actually considering a ban on bump stocks.
He did it.
Yeah,
He did it.
Trump did it.
From my understanding, he did it.
He said it.
Executive order.
Executive order. ATF can now go out and seize your bump stocks.
Are we so tired of having everything in the executive where they can just do that all the time without any act of Congress? Are we
Right.
sick of that already?
So what the hell was Congress doing when they gave congressional power to these executive agencies? Did they just abdicate themselves of all responsibility?
Separation of powers.
I mean, that was the whole thing. Separation of powers. Congress was supposed to write the laws. The executive branch was supposed to enforce it. So what does Congress do? They go and create these executive branches and give them the ability to write their own laws. Really? Why? We really need people back in Congress who are willing to accept responsibility and do the damn job.
This is
Yep,
a
Fourth
video
Amendment.
broadcast.
Fourth Amendment, big one.
Do you need to wait? Do you need a photo
Right to
bomb?
privacy. Illegal search and seizures. Okay, it's gone. It's toast. Patriot Act, totally screwed it. No mens rea. Currently, they don't have to prove that you're actually of guilty intent when you do something. Seriously, who has a guilty mind when they decide to get high? Who has a guilty mind when they decide to get drunk? Yet courts no longer care about any of that. Judges don't care about that. Police don't care about that. Metadata collection by the NSA. Currently, the NSA owns metadata on every phone in the United States. And you're guilty by association. 1, 2, 3 degrees of separation from somebody who's somewhere in some other country. Next thing you know, you got somebody crawling up your ass with a microscope.
Well, liking a Facebook post can get you more time in jail.
Yeah. So Fourth Amendment, it's been completely violated. And Brett Kavanaugh, again, first case on the SCOTUS. He's got more coming. And he's already indicated he'll support security over privacy and rule against the Fourth Amendment in every case. Fourth Amendment, it's gone. We need to go through the process of getting it restored. And hopefully we can get it restored before, things actually get too bad. It's bad already, right? We just don't want it to get too bad. Definitely needs to get fixed, though. And if not now, by the time you decide it is time to fix it, they've already come for you. Idaho's a prison state. 8,000 beds in this state. 13th highest per capita prison population in the United States. They're not interested in giving you your rights back because there's private prisons that can make money on you being in prison. You need to vote for liberty, folks. You need to vote for it now. I'm going to sign off now. You guys have a great evening. I'll talk to you later.